Hello everyone, welcome to the Lovely Garden Card Club. Usually I name my club after the stamps that we're using, but the Lovely Garden paper was more to me what we were highlighting, because you could swap the stamp set. I use Simply Said. You could use anything different. I want to start each video for each card showing you how to cut the paper. And this one we're actually going to cut on the cardstock. And normally in your kit, I put the cards in the order we're going to make them. But this time I planned the order, and then when I went to pack them, I felt like they would bend less if I packed them a certain order because of how bulky they were. So this kit is in the back. Now, from this pattern of everyone, I'm going to just interject this video on cutting the DSP. Because after now making a couple of videos, I'm realizing we need to cut for several cards at once because we're using this paper on multiple cards, and I want to make sure you're able to get what you need out of it. So I'm actually borrowing from someone else's kit because I ran out of paper, but we're going to cut this paper, both sheets of that. We're going to cut this paper. And the others we could wait, but since we're cutting for one of the cards anyway, oops, I just hit that, we're going to cut for those right now. Oh, actually a black as well. So you need 2 floral, 2 blue, 1 white, green, and black. Okay, and that should cut for all but the green card. That one we'll just cut at the beginning of that video. Okay, so for this paper, you should have, unless I messed up, which I messed up on my own, but that's why I'm borrowing this one. You should have like a full sheet cut in half. And from these, you're going to need to fussy cut this flower. Is this getting in here? Let me see if I'm in my video. Yeah. This flower, this flower, this flower, and this flower. Okay. You're going to need those flowers, but we are still going to need this top area to do so that's going to give you 2 for these cards. You'll do 2 for this pattern, but then we still need this top area intact to get this panel for this card. And actually this card has a panel on the right and the left. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through cutting that. So first, I'm not going to fussy cut everything in front of you. I can't even find my scissors. Darn it. Okay, first I'm just going to get those flowers out of the paper so I have what I need to work with. Okay, so honestly though, I don't need to do that whole part in front of you. So I'm going to cut that, and that one. Okay, and then here I would need that one, but we're just going to work with this top half to get these panels. Okay, so you're going to cut it at 5 3/8. Did I bring my trimmer? I did. Okay, so when you get, oh, never mind. I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing on these videos, that I can tell you. Okay, so 5 3/8, and that leaves us, again, our 1, 2, 3, 4 flowers to put on our cards. Okay, so this now I've cut it 5 3/8. Now I'm going to turn and cut 2 panels at 1 1/2. So I'm going over to the left for the 1 1/2. 1 1/2, and that's going to give you this right side for 2 cards. And now we're going to cut our little left one, which is 1 1/8. So you go to your 1, and then you go to those 2 little 16ths past, or you can think of it as in between your 4th lines. But anywho, 1 1/8. And I like to do it this side when it's that small. So I'm actually going to look at my 1 1/8 on this side and cut 2 that way. Okay, and so that gives me my panels for card 3. So just set those aside for card 3. This is an extra that you may want to use on the inside of a card somewhere. You may not. Okay, so that's that pattern. Now let's look at this pattern for card 2. So you're going to need both sides. And this we're going to use this for card 2 and card 1. You see we have the polka dots and then we have this. So we're going to cut at 4 first, this whole row down, okay? And then we're going to cut at 4 again 3 times. So we're going to get 3 4x4 pieces. 1, 2, and then that gives us those. So one card is going to have those 2, and then we need another one for this plus our white for that. Okay, so you could either cut it 4 again, but I'm going to do it a different way because then I have the biggest piece left over at the end for future projects. Okay, so I'm going to cut it 4. This is going to give me my final piece I need for card 2. Okay, so now I have the 2 panels I need for this card because as you see that opens up and it's the full size. Okay, I'm going to have those for that, and then now I'm going to cut my white for this with what's left. This is extra that we might use on the inside. Okay, so I'm going to turn and cut it at 4 again. Now this is just extra. Then these I'm going to cut at 2 3/4, 2 3/4, and that gives me, okay, so these go with this card. That gives me this for the front of those cards. And this little 1/2" piece, so on these cards you can either just do a little strip, like for my thanks card I just did a little strip, which is a 1/2" by 2 3/4", or you can make this pocket to put a gift card in, and then you could use this larger strip. I think I show in my video 1 what to do. It would be 1 1/4. What's the larger piece? Let me look and see. If you're going to do this because it wraps around the edges, you would cut 1 1/4 by 3 1/2. I'll just go ahead and cut it. But if you like this pattern more, you can do that instead. But this would be to make your pocket. So you have the pocket version and then the strip version. Okay, and so then all of, well, we're not done yet. We still have this black panel, okay? So we're done with the white and the floral. Then we're gonna go to this black piece, and you'll have plenty of this left, and that's our plaid side on the other side. Okay, so this black piece is, you go ahead and cut it at 4. Oh, okay, so once you have that, then you're going to get your 4 strips, and they're 1 inch. So I like to just go to this 1 inch side and cut my 4 pieces. So that takes care of the pieces for card 1. And then that's just going to be an extra I'm not going to use. And then with the part that was left, we need 2 little strips here. And even though it's not going to be the right direction, it's going to not really be shown there. So to maximize your paper, I would cut, this is 1 1/8. I would just cut them this way first. And then I would trim these down to the 5 3/8, which is just an 1/8 down from 5 1/2. And then you have the pieces you need for card 3. And then we could just wait till card 3 to cut these, but while we're cutting, let's go ahead and cut these 2 panels. They're the same size, and they're green and the white leafy. Now, this does go a certain direction. You could just cut them off the top if you don't care that your leaves are going up. I'm gonna cut them, since I kind of care if my leaves are going up. I'm gonna go 5 3/8. So I went over to that side, and then I'm gonna cut at 2 5/8. Okay, so you go to 2 1/2, and then 1/8 past that, which is 2 little 16ths. 2 5/8. Okay, so then I have that for my panel card, for both. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one. I will go to 5 3/8, and then cut at 2 5/8. And the only thing I didn't cut yet on all these cards is at the bottom of this one, there's this little bit of purple, and that is the back side of your green. So did we have a little bit of green left over? We did. That's going to give us enough for one of them. It's 4 inches wide. Mine was 4 1/2, which once it's this small, it's kind of hard to cut into 1/2. I'm gonna try, but really you have plenty of paper. You don't have to scrimp like that. You can just cut 1/2 inch here and make your life easier. So that's for the inside of card 2. Okay, so again, we have these pieces for card 2. We have all our long panels for card 3. And then this is what we've cut for card 1. And we'll go ahead and put that together. And again, I already made that video, so I may not make sense in that one because I won't know I've already done all this, and that's everything else is extra. And then all you'll have left to cut is when we get to card 4, we'll be cutting the paper for the front and the inside of this. Okay, so I'll proceed with card 1. Well, let's do our card. Let me show you how to cut this because I did not cut that part for you. So you're going to take your trimmer. It is already scored. You're gonna go over 1 1/4 inch, and you're gonna cut from the bottom up to the score line. Okay, so that's what you're gonna do. Go over 1 1/4, and I'm gonna cut, that's my scoring blade. I'm gonna cut up to that score line, okay? And then I'm gonna repeat it. I mean, you could do 1 1/4 here also. I just like having the more bulkier part of my card over here if I can. So now I'm gonna go 1 1/4 again. This time I'll cut down from the top to my score line. So that's how you get your card front. And then we just tape these panels closed. I used to think you cut them off for this card, but then I realized it's much more secure if you tape them down. It makes your card stronger, and then you just have that middle flap open. Okay, so that's the cutting for that. But you're basically going to, on your inside piece, making sure these are the same on both, yeah. Your inside piece, if you want the pocket, so not pocket, you would just tape down. If you want the pocket, you're gonna put a tiny bit of glue on the bottom. Okay, but we're not gonna put glue on the sides because we're gonna wrap this around to the back. So I'm just going to glue that to the bottom. And then wrap it around the back. You can either glue or use tape. You could even just use like Scotch tape to hold it down if you wanted. I might do both because this is gonna hold it over time but not grab immediately. That is if I have Scotch tape, I do. So I'm just gonna hold that down there like that. And that gives me my pocket for the inside, and then I would just tape it down. So I'm going to go through the whole card now, but I just wanted to get that done for those of you who I know prefer to read versus watch the video. I glued my flowers flat, and I gave you black and white. Hopefully you have 2 of each in case you want to do them both the same. One is more narrow and one is larger. This was to go with this particular greeting set, but you can swap it around. And then I just changed the direction. So that's that. I'm going to go ahead and make it, but for those of you who just wanted to do it quick, that's the main gist of it. Okay, so now I'm going to glue these flaps down, or glue tape, whatever you like to use. Okay, now I can see that one was wanting to not go even, and I had to help it a little. Okay, and then we'll put our 2 strips here. On the sides, centering them on the flaps, so you have about 1/8 of an inch around all the sides. I could feel myself moving that a little crooked. Oops. Then I'll put this polka dot piece on the front. And this is where I'm trying to think if I want to do I'm just going to do this version. I'm going to make this a thanks card, I think. I was going to try with the blue, see if I like it. Let me get out all the things here. Okay, so there's these little pieces. I don't know if that blue is going to take up enough space for me, to be honest. And I don't know where I would put my bow. I thought it might be fun to try it, but I think I like the pink more. So I just kind of tie a loose bow, and then I can play around with it to make it look the way I want before I tie it tight. So I could do that with the blue, but I don't. I like the pink more. So I'm gonna fussy cut my pink, and I feel like rather than come back, I feel like you guys probably just from the pictures can get the gist of what to do. Make sure I embossed this happy birthday in white. Hopefully you guys know how to do embossing. If not, I think there's some on a later card and I can show it there. But the main thing is I have everything flat except the greeting. And just be careful when you pop it on dimensionals if it's going off the edge, like both of these, that your dimensionals aren't going off the edge. Okay. And then once you get your flower, and I used a glue dot to attach my bow, and then I would trim it. And then I just come in and add those starburst sequins at the end, which I've managed to misplace, but you should all have some in your package. And that is design number 1.